Graham, really would like to start to say thank you to you. If I'm right, this might be your last Congress as a president. And I really would like to thank you for the result and the work you did. You said it before, 7 prime ministers. Being present on the international level, really congratulations from the bottom of my heart, really to say thank you for the work you've done. So thank you for the invitation to take the floor here. I'm sorry for my colleague Miro, who is not able to be here today. But as you know, for the moment, we have situations in our own countries who makes it difficult to plan our agenda in advance. So I want to tell you some things about, not about my country, because as I guess you all know it by heart, but about the 12th presidency of my country. As you know, it is the 12th time that Luxembourg has the presidency of the European Union, the first after the Treaty of Lisbon. And believe me, it's my first presidency. The 11th before were Jean-Claude Juncker's presidency. So my first presidency is, believe me, not an easy one. First council we had in Brussels was about the Greek situation. 17 hours meeting to get a result. I know that in some countries, some people thought, why should we help Greece? Others said, you should give to Greece without counterpart. I strongly believe that we cannot accept that if people vote for parties who say that they will change international rules and European agreements, that we have to accept that. Because this will mean that voting for people who propose things would be for other 27 countries to change the rules. So it was important to tell to the Greeks that we are ready to help them, but not for free. We have to respect Greece. We have to respect our Greek friends, the dignity of the inhabitants, but also that rules and engagement done by the previous government will be respected. Then during my presidency, I went to Kiev to discuss with President Poroshenko and also to Sochi to speak with President Putin. It was important to build bridges. I strongly condemn annexation of territories. It's against international rules. The fact is, nowadays, in Europe, on our continent, we need more than ever bridges between people. And without speaking together, without exchanging together, we are not able to find solutions. And for the moment, we have to know that in Ukraine, we have just one thing, which is the Minsk agreement. And at the end of the year, in January, we'll have to decide if we continue, if we strengthen, or if we lighten the sanctions. And this will have to be decided on the basis without taking in account the conflict in Syria and the position of Russia in Syria. These are two different things. We cannot say, because Russia wants to collaborate now with Syria, that we don't care about Ukraine anymore. That would be a mistake. We are in a difficult situation, but also in our own countries. When you see the youth unemployment rates, when you see the economic growth, some parties, and we know as liberals, that it's difficult to explain to people that, because some unions will tell you the crisis is over, you should spend more money without having it yet. I got some messages from my unions in my country. They said the figures are a bit better now, so now you have to raise salaries, you have to give 1 week more holidays, etc., etc. I know Santa Claus is coming soon. But the fact is, why are some countries in troubles now? Because we spent money we had not. And instead of being, as a liberal, to think that the expenses we're doing today are the costs for the next generation, and instead of, and because one of the biggest problems are, it is difficult to tell to our population the truth. It is difficult to tell to our populations that we spent more money than we had. But I prefer to be maybe less popular, but to have good figures than to take no decisions and to leave the drama to the next generations. I have to tell you, I was mayor before of my capital, Luxembourg. I had 89% of popularity. That was amazing. Lukashenko was jealous. But then I became prime minister, and it fell to 44%. Yes, that's hard for you. It's hard for you. Last week we had the new polls. I came to 59%. But I don't want to be elected, and I don't want to do politics because of polls. I want to do politics for my country, for my figures, and for the next generations. Then I had 2 weeks ago, I went to the UK to visit David Cameron. And I said something, and for my dear liberal Lib Dems colleagues here in the room, we have some values in Europe. And Europe is not à la carte. Or we are in Europe with all the positive things. And also with some things, maybe you don't like them that much, but that's also a point of solidarity, or you are not in Europe. It's not a fact that you pick and choose what is good, and you keep the solidarity questions for the others. Fact is, PM Cameron wrote us a letter, and he told he wanted a more efficient Europe. I fully agree to have a more efficient Europe. If he says we have to think about some rule of procedure we have in our working methods, I fully agree. But there are some red lines. And one of the most important red lines is the free movement of people. The fact that you are able to work, to study, to move to another country, and that you are considered in the same condition that people living in this country. We should not do distinction about health between Europeans and nationals. It was, I will do everything. I asked David if maybe I should help him for the campaign. I think he don't need my help. He doesn't need my help. Why I said we have Europe à la carte for the moment for some countries. We live now in one of the most tragic situations since the Second World War, which is the refugee crisis. Solidarity doesn't mean only to get. Solidarity means also sometimes to be able to give. Some countries forget the solidarity they got. And they should show now also that they are ready to take some solidarity and to prove that the ideal that we have, it's a common one, it's the solidarity and to help in difficult situations. For the moment, we are not honest. We are not honest. We all say, not all, but a lot of countries say, we are generous. We are ready to take refugees in our countries. But in the same day, they will take new laws to be sure to be less attractive than the neighbor. And just with one wish, you are welcome, but please go to my neighbor. So it is important to show the solidarity. And these people who left Syria, they didn't leave because they wanted to have a better life. They wanted to survive. Imagine once, you would need in an hour, half an hour, to pack your whole life in a travel bag. And to know that you left all your history, all your family behind you. And even to risk your life to go there. So we should not forget that. I know that there are limits. because we are not able to have in some countries a lot and in other countries no one. So I think what will be important is for the countries who are ready to discuss about common positions, about working rights, about regroupement familial, all this stuff that we have to discuss and take common positions instead of doing competition of an anti-dumping immigration law to be sure that they go somewhere else. And what is a nightmare for the moment? It is that some people, and in all our countries, are scared. And people who are scared, it's the most difficult thing as politicians to fight. There is one risk to be populist, because you know that people will like to hear some things. But this would be exactly what terrorists want: to split our societies and to find someone who is guilty of a situation. A refugee coming to Europe is not a terrorist. And a terrorist coming to Europe is not a refugee. We should always keep that in mind, always. A terrorist who decided to come to Europe had already in mind when he left the country to do an act. So it's important to work together now, to exchange, to have information. I get upset when I hear that other countries had information about this and this person, and they didn't give the information to other countries. So it's important. And especially for us as liberal. For me it was difficult. This week I had, on Wednesday, I had government meeting, and in my country you were able, for example, to have SIM cards anonymously. I had to cancel that. Believe me, as a liberal, it was difficult to say that you are not able anymore to have a phone without any identification. But as a liberal, I know also that the liberty, the anonymity, stops there where there are the liberties of others starting. So I had to take such decision. It was not the easiest one. Some other countries think that and this is what a neighbor in a country not far away from here said a few weeks ago, that they don't even want to have refugees because there might be terrorists in them. This is exactly what the terrorists want. Exactly what they want. They want us to blame Muslims. They want us to think that behind every Muslim could be a potential terrorist. Don't fall in this trap. This is what the terrorist wants. It's now the moment where we have to show that we are open society, that we are in a solidarity society where we accept and we live with the difference of each other, which is the most important thing. If we are not able to do that, believe me, that the values of Europe, where our grandfather and father died for liberties and for a Europe of solidarity, we should forget to have a common goal and be called a European Union. We will be a European disunion of 28 countries where egoism will be a main value. I don't want that Europe. I want that we fight as liberals for a Europe where we take our responsibilities, but that we know that without solidarity, without taking care of the poorest of our society, and that the wheel is turning, maybe today you are the strongest one, tomorrow you can be the weakest one. So do not forget that. Be proud of being a liberal. Be proud of the positions of most of the liberal colleagues in Europe, where we think that liberties is one of the most important things in our society. Freedom is the most important topic, but also to respect each other. And if we are not able to respect each other, we are not respecting these two important words. Thank you.